Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the first part of your concealed carry course with Get Smart. The Think Smart dealt with the nuts and bolts of the firearm. Act Smart has more to do with how to carry on your person and being of the right mindset. Let's dig into this. So the firearm should always be in a holster in a gun case. Now, most states are not going to have an issue if you have it stuck in your glove box and it's unholstered, but it's in a safe place. Of course, we need to explore all of those issues. Where we really get into the nitty-gritty is if we have it stuck in the glove box, but we're carrying somebody or giving a ride to somebody who is not licensed. So you're pulled over, the police officer may or may not ask, you may or may not be in a state that requires it to be mandatory. We'll talk about that in the third section, the third video of this series here. But the police officer is glad to know that you disclose that the firearm is in the glove box. He or she can then go to that side of the car, ask your passenger to roll down the window, and demand to see their concealed carry permit. Well, that person may not have even known there was a gun in the car, or they may not believe in guns, or just never got around to it. So it's super important if we have a non-permit holder in the vehicle that they do not have access to a loaded firearm. So we maintain positive control of the gun, either on our person, or it can even be on our side of the door in that little pocket there where nobody else can reach it. This pertains to not only glove box carry, but the console, that center console where you rest your arm and you lift up the lid, you keep all your change and cords in there. That also applies to carrying a gun in there because your passenger may have access to it. So just be aware of that. Super important. Might want to get them licensed as well. Here's some different options. Now, holsters are fairly cheap, but you don't want to experiment too much with it because then that can get expensive. But these pictures have been taken from cheaperthandirt.com. You can find these holsters on Amazon sometimes. The Well Armed Woman. These are not affiliates and we are not endorsing, but we appreciate their images that they allowed us to use and in mentioning who they are. So all of the pictures here would be inside or outside the waistband. In all cases, would need to be covered by a hoodie, sweater, sweatshirt, vest, or long t-shirt. If they're not, any of these would be considered open carry, even if you can only see the grip sticking out of the inside the waistband type of a hold. On that note, open carry is legal in certain states and it's not legal in certain states. We'll talk about that in the third section, whether it is for your state. However, there's a whole mindset to open carrying, and I do sometimes, but I'll tell you, for states that are not used to it, it's very uncomfortable for non-gun owners to see somebody open carrying. Very socially awkward, and I simply say that you may deter some bad guys, but you may attract some good guys, so make sure you have some good time on your hands to go through that process. It's not fun. I've gone through it before. All right, so we then look at, there's all kinds of purses, handbags, fanny packs. There's the old Barney Miller under the shoulder routine. The female version is a t-shirt that you would wear. This is not the bra, it goes over the bra, and you would access it through an elastic type v-neck through the top, as the picture implies there. We have then these belly bands, or midriff as they're called. I have these. I also like to use just a simple back brace. What I like about this, and I can't illustrate it in this little space here, but this could be moved to under the shoulder. It could be slid down to the side. It could be slid around the front. If I'm wearing sweats, I can slide it down underneath the waistband of the sweats. So I use this, and I'll attach just a traditional holster right into the lumbar support. Holds nice and tightly and secures the firearm. And typically using a back brace, I can carry a heavier piece than if I was just using one of those little belly bands. It's usually intended for a 380 subcompact. These are also bands that would go inside of the waistband, similar to what I had just described. These are for gals, and in all these cases, of course, you would need to have one size larger of jeans, which typically many of us have different sizes for different times of the year On the one side of the screen, we have the thigh holster, oftentimes relegated to gals wearing skirts, as this picture implies. However, a gal approached me at a gun show a couple years ago now, I think, and I kindly declined because I don't wear skirts, and I'm not Scottish either. But she said, no, a lot of guys are wearing these under their sports shorts or canvas shorts, because in the summertime, if they're wearing fitted tops or tank tops or no top, where are you going to carry your gun? So that made a lot of sense. Make sure you note the strap that goes up to the waistband. If you don't have that, your thigh holster quickly becomes an ankle holster. So the ankle holster has its place, maybe as a secondary carry, but I'm not a big fan of this as a primary because it takes too long to get down, and if you're under personal attack and somebody sees you reaching for it, they're going to kick you in the chops and you're not going to have a chance. So not a big fan of that for a primary carry, but it's a consideration. All right, so this is what has been nicknamed and marketed as the Flash Bang. The Flash Bang. Now, this is a clamshell, and it has to be specifically designed for the firearm that you're carrying. It fits nice and tightly in there. Gals can even run with these on. It comes with 3 straps typically, and this goes around the center part of the bra, just as the picture shows. The only thing that is revealed to the person carrying is the grip. The rest is underneath the cup of the bra, so it doesn't get in the way of imprinting the shirt. Nobody would ever know that it's there. But the exit strategy is it comes straight down, or if you have the semi-automatic version, it can come back too and be able to shoot from the hip. But really the beauty of this is we don't have to worry about coming home, putting the purse on the table, going and taking a phone call or going to the bathroom and forgetting that there's a gun there, or putting it on the floor at the restaurant or on the pew at the church. In all of those cases, we would always have to have the firearm on us from point A to point Z. So this is a really great way to not have to worry about setting down the purse and worrying about little hands getting in there. The strategy here is the attacker is approaching. The gal can't get away. She stops and says, I know what you want. Don't hurt me. I'll give you what you want. She begins to pull up her shirt, reaches in with her other hand and pulls out that firearm and does what she needs to do, be it a command to get away or actually firing. So very effective, and some people actually love carrying there. Others, some feedback I've received is that they have trouble breathing. They feel constricted in their breathing cycle. So got to get used to what works for you. Try out some different things. So there's the traditional pocket holster as we see up in the corner. If you're going to do something like this, get one of those binder clips. I don't have one handy here. And make sure that you're clipping it up high on your pocket so that the firearm doesn't slide all the way down inside of your pocket, because it makes it harder to access. These little PDA holsters, very dandy. The beauty of them, twofold, it's just a magnet that opens it up, and they bring up the size of them pretty high so that just somebody standing around would not see that there's a firearm in there. And then the other piece to understand is that the gun needs to sit in here upside down. So, pretending you could see through this, that you're Superman, I reach down, pull this up, my index finger goes along the side of the frame. That's hard to do in the camera. When it comes out, it's ready to present. So it's inside of here. My index finger goes along the side of the grip, and then it's already on the side of the frame ready to present, and then I can move my finger down to the trigger if need be. So that's kind of a neat thing. They make more fashionable ones as well, as you see. They make holsters for cars. They make holsters in clothes. They make holsters for your bed. Of course, you do not want to use these if you have children in the house. And the best thing is to try out different ones, see what works for you, ask your friends to try theirs out so that you don't waste a bunch of money on things that you're not going to use. So now you're carrying. It's going to feel really weird the first time you do. You'll feel like everybody knows it, but they don't. Not if you're properly concealing. And So now what you'll find besides that weird feeling is your level of awareness is totally hyped up. You're like that police officer whose eyes are constantly moving, because now your level of responsibility is a lot higher for yourself as well as for your loved ones. So as civilians, we don't have the same rights that police officers have. So we're required to de-escalate or try to notch down. And truly, if we can get away, we should. Even if your state has stand your ground, if you can get away without using the firearm, why not? We don't want to have to use the gun. Even if we don't have the same legal ramifications on the other end of it, we still have the psychological, physiological, social, all of those, the media, all those aspects that we don't want to have to deal with if we don't have to. So we have these what if scenarios. We think, what could happen if this happened, and then we give ourselves enough time, hopefully, to evade and avoid so that doesn't happen. We live at a yellow state of awareness rather than white, unaware, sleepy, daydreaming. It's kind of what we do when we're watching TV or spacing out on Facebook. Yellow is just aware. Orange is alert, like, oh crud, I feel like something's going on here. And red is I'm taking action. Taking action might not be using the gun. Maybe it is, but it's taking action. So that mental awareness is really keen and required in order to effectively take control of the situation. So we want to be people who report suspicious activity. We see things on social media, certain tendencies to hate crimes or radical terrorism. Report that. Don't wait until after something happens. Be the person on the news that says, oh, I thought that was strange. No, report it ahead of time. Avoid bad neighborhoods, suspicious people, leave or change directions. Avoid teaching sign language out your car window. Don't be that person. Don't always be the one stirring up trouble. Try to de-escalate. Try to bring calm and peace to a situation if at all possible. Proverbs has tons of verses about this. 15:18 says, a hot-tempered man stirs up arguments, but a patient man calms a quarrel. 29:11 says, a fool gives full vent to his anger. A wise man keeps himself under control. 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath. A harsh word stirs up anger. So if at all possible, if we can appease a situation by apologizing, saying, hey, I don't want trouble, putting up your hands, if you follow me, I'm leaving, leave me alone, I don't want to fight you, all the better. Even if you have stand your ground in your state, who wants to pull out the gun if they don't need to? So the firearm is only to be used as a last resort, so we shouldn't display it until we intend to use it. The first sight of the gun from the other person's perspective would be when it's coming out for the purpose of firing. Now, if you can yell out a command to get away and leave you alone and not fire, of course that's great. But if you do pull it out, please cross the bridge in your mind ahead of time. Are you willing to use it? We'll talk about that in the next section a little bit here. So, in conclusion, during that confrontation, not a conflict, so we haven't seen that the person has a weapon. They're just being a jerk. They're in your space. They're in your face. That's the confrontation. We should try to de-escalate it. If we point a gun at somebody before our life is in harm's way, it may be considered an assault. It's called brandishing in any occasion, but it may be considered an assault. It may go against your record, may cause you to have trouble with your current job or finding a future job with that on your record. So be aware. There's all kinds of legal sides to that, but don't hesitate, of course, if your life is in harm's way. That's in the next section. The courts will want to know, did the adversary have the ability, the opportunity, and the intent to inflict harm on you? And really, those are the three things that we would want to know as well. So we have covered the think smart, understanding the nuts and bolts of the gun. We have just talked about act smart, where to carry on our person and being of the right mindset and hopefully evading and avoiding to get away from things and not pulling out our gun too soon, but pulling it out if we feel like there's a threat. The next section, we get into escalation of force and break-ins and the laws that pertain to your state. So stick around, log into that. We look forward to seeing you soon.